Ready, Nick? Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I want to thank you for joining us as we share more news about the minimum wage increases taking effect tomorrow, July 1st, in Cook County and Chicago. Before we get started, I'd like to recognize the folks who've joined us. Sisavanh Baker, Cook County Department of Human Rights and Ethics Director, Commissioner Ken Meyer, an old friend from my days at the City of Chicago Department of Business Affairs and Consumer Protection, Laura Garza, a RISE worker, Center Director, Martina Sanchez, a RISE Chicago member. RISE Chicago is a great organization that organizes our immigrant communities and the undocumented in the workplace. Thank you all for joining us as we get the minimum wage message out to our residents in Cook County and Chicago. Shortly, Director Baker and Commissioner Meyer will share more information regarding wage increases within the relevant jurisdictions. Let's begin on the county side. As I said, effective tomorrow, July 1st, the county minimum wage will increase to $13.70. That's $13.70 for non-tipped workers and $8 for tipped employees. It's in hospitality. To ensure this increase is reflected in folks' paychecks, Cook County's Commission on Human Rights works diligently to ensure employees are paid the correct wages. Our commission also investigates complaints of any potential violations of the minimum wage ordinance. Over the past year, the commission has supported collaboration with the Department of Public Health and RISE Chicago to pursue a broader outreach strategy. We want to make sure our residents understand our labor laws and that we move towards data and industry-informed enforcement strategies. We know that upholding a minimum wage plays a significant role in equity, and that income, paid sick time, and job security impact our health risks, and ability to work. It shouldn't come as a surprise that wages and providing sick time to results in employees having fewer illnesses. Enforcement of the minimum wage is just one of the integral ways that Cook County is prioritizing quality of life for all of our residents. I encourage employees to check your next check to ensure that you are paid the updated minimum wage starting on July 1st. And I encourage all employers to contact the Department of Human Rights with any questions or concerns. Now, I'd like to turn the podium over to Director Baker. Where are you, Sisavanh?
Thank you.
There you are.
I'm right here.
Very good.
On this side. Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Sisavanh Baker. That's spelled S as in Sam, I as in Igloo, S again as in Sam, A, V as in Victory, A, N as in Nancy, H as in Henry, Baker, B-A-K-E-R. I am the Executive Director of the Cook County Commission on Human Rights. We are honored to be present today alongside Chicago's Department of Business Affairs and Consumer Protections and also RISE Chicago to share the increased minimum wage in Cook County effective tomorrow, July 1st. Our mission is to protect people who live in Cook County from discrimination and harassment in the areas of employment, housing, public accommodations, credit transactions, and access to Cook County facilities, services, and programs. We are also the enforcement agency for several of Cook County's labor-related laws, including the Cook County minimum wage. Cook County's minimum wage is based on the greatest among the federal wage, the Illinois state minimum wage, and the county's calculation using the Consumer Price Index. Effective tomorrow, July 1st, the Cook County minimum wage will increase to $13.70 for non-tipped workers and $8 for tipped workers. The minimum wage ordinance also accounts for overtime pay, which includes a rate of time and a half and will increase to $20.55 for non-tipped workers and also $14.30 for tipped workers. The ordinance applies to hourly salaried and tipped employees, individuals over the age of 18 working in Cook County and who work at least 2 hours within a 2-week time period. It also applies to employers who have at least 4 employees, and they are located in Cook County or are required to obtain a Cook County general business license. Generally, Your minimum wage will depend on where you work. As of June 2023, the Cook County minimum wage applies in unincorporated Cook County, as well as the following municipalities: Barrington Hills, Berwyn, Countryside, Deerfield, Dalton, Evanston, Glencoe, Kenilworth, McCook, Northfield, Oakbrook, Oak Park, Phoenix, Skokie, University Park, Western Springs, Wilmette, and Winnetka. We encourage you all to check your next check to ensure you are being paid the appropriate wage. Employees who believe their employer is not paying the required minimum wage should first check to make sure they're working in one of the cities I've just previously identified, and then certainly contact the Commission on Human Rights and file a complaint with us. We have complaint forms in English, Spanish, Polish, and Chinese, and for other languages, please contact our department. Finally, for employers, the Commission has updated notices which should be posted visibly in work sites. These can be found on our website along with other very valuable resources. Please do not hesitate to contact us by phone at 312-603-1100 or at our email at human-rights@cookcountyil.gov with any questions or concerns. Thank you. And now I turn it over to Kenneth Meyer, the Commission of the City of Chicago's Department of Business Affairs and Consumer Protection. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Baker. Good morning, everyone, and thank you. Thank you. And thank you for being here. My name is K Ian Meyer, Meyer, and I am the Commissioner of the Chicago Department of Business Affairs and Consumer Protection, also known as BACP. I want to thank Cook County President Tony Preckwinkle for unwavering support in pursuit of justice and equality for workers everywhere. And as she mentioned earlier, she and I have worked together for many, many years, and that has always been her steadfast policies. Also, I want to thank Cook County Department of Human Rights Ethics Director Sisavanh Baker. Thank you very much. And finally, I want to thank Arise Chicago. Arise Chicago is a steadfast advocate for workers and has been an ally of BACP, Office of Labor Standards, since its creation a few years back. Together, we have made significant strides in the fight for workers' rights. BAC ensures a fair and vibrant marketplace for businesses, workers, and consumers in the city of Chicago. The city of Chicago has worked tirelessly to ensure that Chicago's workers, especially the most vulnerable, are protected under Chicago's labor laws. The BACP Office of Labor Standards, known as OLS, exists to uphold laws that are meant to protect workers and create equitable, safe workplaces. Tomorrow, July 1st, the annual minimum wage increase and scheduled Fair Work Week ordinance updates will go into effect. First, the Chicago minimum wage tomorrow will be $15.80 for employers with 21 or more employees, $15 for employers with 4 to 20 employees. The minimum wage for tipped employees will be $9.48 in the city of Chicago for employers with 21 or more employees, and $9 for employees with 4 to 20 employers. Employers must make up the difference between any tips not received and the applicable non-tipped worker minimum wage. Employers that maintain a business facility within the city of Chicago are required to pay their employees at least the Chicago minimum wage. Additionally, any employee that works 2 hours or more in the city within a 2-week period must also receive at least the Chicago minimum wage while working in Chicago. Businesses must abide by the minimum wage ordinance, which not only includes paying workers the correct wage, but also posting public notices that informs everyone of these changes. Secondly, the scheduled Fair Workweek ordinance updates will take effect as well tomorrow, July 1st. Under the Fair Workweek ordinance, employees covered in covered industries who earn less than $30.80 an hour or $59,161 annually qualify for scheduling protections. The Fair Workweek ordinance applies to employers conducting business in 7 industries, which include restaurants, retail, hotel, healthcare, building services, manufacturing, or warehouse services, and have at least 100 employees globally. Covered employers must pay the Fair Workweek public notice, the Fair Workweek public notice as well. All Chicago labor laws and public notices are available visiting chicago.gov/labor standards. We care about workers, making sure workers have the protections they deserve, and when we find that is not the case, making sure these workers recoup lost wages and are properly informed of their schedules. Recently, BACP has hosted webinars about Chicago's labor laws, and those recordings are available by visiting youtube.com/ChicagoBACP. To Chicago's business community, I want to say labor laws are not optional. I'm here to remind you of your obligation to pay the minimum wage and provide predictable schedules. To the workers, we see you and we hear you. Do not hesitate to reach out. With BACP, you have an ally, a place where we will keep your complaint confidential, so employers will not retaliate against you if they are violating the ordinance. To file a labor standards complaint, workers can call 311, use our mobile app, which is Shy 311, or visit chicago.gov/labor standards. I want to take a moment to stress the importance of youth employment through internships or job opportunities. The subsidized youth employment wage applies to those 16 to 24 years old working for summer or temporary youth employment programs coordinated by a nonprofit or a government entity. That wage will go up tomorrow to $13.50. It's a way to keep young people engaged and safe. They can also learn skills that will transfer back to school and hopefully find interest towards future career plans. Before I close, I want to thank Mayor Johnson for his leadership, support, dedication to protecting Chicago's workers. And again, thank you, President Preckwinkle, for hosting us. And I now turn the podium over to our next speaker, Laura Garza, from our good friends Arise. Thank you.
You're here.
I think I have to wear my glasses. Good morning. My name is Laura Garza. I am the Workers Center Director at Arise Chicago. At Arise, we educate workers on their rights and how to defend them. Today, we're here reminding workers to check your check to make sure you are paid at least the minimum wage. Worker pay is a racial justice issue, a gender justice issue, and a health equity issue. We're so glad to be here today with the Cook County Commission of Human Rights and the Chicago Office of Labor Standards, the enforcement offices charged with protecting workers' rights, to lift up that message. You just heard the update from Chicago and Cook County minimum wage rates that go into effect tomorrow. I want to remind workers who work in the suburbs that are not included in the county minimum wage, who work outside Cook County, that the minimum wage effective tomorrow, July 1st, is $13 an hour. And if you receive tips, it's $7.80 an hour. You can also see the overtime rates here on these charts. Remember, if you receive tips at the end of your work week, your hourly rate must at least add up to $13 an hour. If it doesn't, your employer has to make up the difference. The same goes for the city and the county. You have to at least the full minimum wage after the tips, or your employer must make up the difference. Again, your minimum wage has to equal to what it currently is, and if those tips don't equal to that, make sure that you are checking and talking to your employers about that. We know that the minimum wage can be confusing because of all these different rates. That is why it's important to check with your employer and to check your check. One easy way to make sure your employer knows the proper minimum wage for whenever you work is to make sure that they have the legally required minimum wage notice and all the workplace rights posted at your job. All employers, whether in Chicago, Cook County suburbs, or anywhere in Illinois, are required to post a notice of the current minimum wage. So look for that poster in your break room or someplace easily viewable for all workers, and make sure to check that date. Employers need a poster that is up as of July of 2023. If you are not being paid the correct minimum wage, you can file a complaint with the Office of Labor Standards, Cook County Commission on Human Rights, or the Illinois Department of Labor, depending on where you work. And you can always contact Arise Chicago with any questions. And remember, the minimum wage is just the minimum. You could organize your work sites to make more money and to organize around worker issues that are affecting you. Remember, that is the key to increasing the wages at your workplace and also to organize and work around worker issues. Here to share more about these rights is our member from Arise Chicago, Martina Sanchez. Martina will be speaking in Spanish, and I will do the interpretation, and then I'll do a summary of my talking points in Spanish after Martina's done. Martina?
Buenos días. Mi nombre es Martina Sánchez y soy miembro de Arise Chicago. Actualmente trabajo como promotora de salud y limpiando casas. Tuve una experiencia pasada de robo de salario extremo. Entonces, yo sé muy bien lo que es no recibir el pago correcto. A muchos trabajadores se les sigue pagando menos del salario mínimo.
Good morning. My name is Martina Sanchez, and I am a member of Arise Chicago. I currently work as a community health promoter and home cleaner. I had a past experience with extreme wage theft, so I know what it's like not to be paid properly.
Hace poco conocí a un trabajador al que solo le pagan $10 por hora. Eso significa que su empleador le está robando un tercio de su salario legal.
Many workers continue to be paid less than the minimum wage. I recently met a worker who was only paid $10 an hour. That means his employer was stealing 1/3 of his legally owed wages.
Actualmente el costo de vida ha subido notablemente. Es extremadamente difícil llevar comida a tu mesa y poder comprar útiles escolares con un sueldo mínimo.
The cost of living has recently increased, and it's extremely difficult to put food on the table and to pay for school supplies and everyday expenses on the minimum wage. So it's more important than ever to be sure you are properly paid.
Si no le pagan correctamente sus horas trabajadas, eso es un robo.
If you are not paid properly for all your hours worked, that is wage theft.
Además, quiero recordarles a todos los trabajadores que el salario mínimo es justamente eso, lo mínimo que legalmente les puede pagar su patrón.
I also want to remind workers that the minimum wage is just that, the minimum your employer can legally pay you.
Tienes derecho a organizarte con tus compañeros de trabajo y pedir mejores salarios.
You have the right to organize with your coworkers and to ask for higher pay.
La ley protege a todos los trabajadores. No importa el estado de tu documentación. No tengas miedo de hablar.
The law protects all workers regardless of your documentation status. Don't be afraid to speak up.
Si actualmente gana el salario mínimo, recuerde que el salario sube mañana. Si trabaja en Chicago y en varios suburbios del condado de Cook, puede recordarle a su empleador y asegúrese cuando reciba su próximo pago después del 1 de julio, checa tu cheque.
So if you are currently making the minimum wage, remember, the wages goes up tomorrow if you work in Chicago and several Cook County suburbs. You can remind your employer and make sure when you get your next paycheck after July 1st to check your check.
Si tienes preguntas, puedes contactarte con Arise Chicago o llamar a la oficina de estándares laborales. Todos estamos aquí para asegurarnos que los trabajadores conozcan sus derechos, para asegurarnos de que los empleadores cumplan con la ley y paguen a sus trabajadores correctamente.
If you have questions, you can contact Arise Chicago or the local labor enforcement office. We are here to make sure that workers know their rights and to make sure that employers follow the law and pay their workers correctly.
Recuerda, después del 1 de julio, checa tu cheque. Gracias.
Remember, after July 1st, check your check. Thank you. Gracias, Martina. Just really quickly in Spanish. Estamos aquí hoy para recordarles a los trabajadores que checa su cheque. Mañana, 1 de julio, aumenta el salario mínimo en Chicago y algunos suburbios en el condado de Cook. El salario mínimo en Chicago, en el condado de Cook y Illinois, pueden ver en estos gráficos que tenemos aquí hoy. Con las diferentes tarifas, esto puede ser muy confuso. Asegúrese de que su empleador tenga la notificación del salario mínimo a partir del 1 de julio del 2023 publicada. Si no hay cartel o no tiene preguntas o desea presentar una denuncia, puede comunicarse con Arise Chicago o presentar ante la agencia de la aplicación correspondiente. Para Chicago, la Oficina de las Normas Laborales. Para algunos suburbios en el condado de Cook, la Comisión de Derechos Humanos. Para el resto de Illinois, incluidos los suburbios del condado no incluidos, el Departamento del Trabajo de Illinois. Recordatorio que el mínimo es solamente el mínimo. Los trabajadores tienen el derecho de organizarse para exigir salarios más altos. El salario mínimo y el derecho de organizar son derechos para todos, sin importar si tienen papeles o no. Gracias. President Preckwinkle.
Thank you. I'd like to thank Sisavanh and Ken and Laura and Martina for joining us today.